which there are. I mean, it's innumerable, but we are listing 10 of them here, and we are still covering the first of the 10. So the 10 qualities or the 10 benefits of practicing the Dharma, following the Dharma. So when we say Dharma here, we are referring to the Buddha Dharma, which is usually also translated as the noble, sublime Dharma or noble Dharma, which means the Buddha's teaching. We are referring to the doctrine of the Buddha. So the benefit of practicing the Buddha's teaching is, of course, that we will be able to define the fine lines between virtuous deeds and non-virtuous deeds, and the 6 perfections, and so on and so forth. And so we covered 6 perfections last week. So then the next is all aspects of emptiness. So we will talk a little bit about emptiness today, and then if time permits, we will finish more of the other points from today's session. So the benefit or the benefits of practicing Dharma, following the Buddha's teaching, are so on and so forth. So the first point made in today's session, in this session called the qualities of the Buddha's teaching, we have covered certain aspects like the virtuous and non-virtuous deeds and the 6 perfections. And today's is, we will also talk about emptiness. Then there is the 37 aspects of the Buddha's teaching, and so all of the qualities that one would be able to derive on one's spiritual journey by following the Buddha's teaching. So this is what we will be covering. So another thing is that one of the most important aspects of Buddha's teaching, one of the most important, but I think not very popular in the non-Mahayana dimension, is the aspect of the emptiness. So in the maybe last few decades or so, last few decades or so, because Mahayana teachings were very popular all over the world, so the practice of understanding of emptiness has been quite popularized. But even during the Buddha's time, as well as afterwards, the emptiness, the idea of emptiness was sort of a Mahayana Buddhist exclusive thing, because emptiness is misunderstood by many other schools of the Buddha's many other Buddhist schools, and so therefore emptiness is refuted, and it is regarded not as a Buddha's teaching by many. So therefore it is quite important that we explain in kind of great detail what emptiness is. Of course, we always talk about emptiness here and there because we're supposedly following Mahayana Buddhist teaching, whether Tibetan Buddhism, Vietnam, China, or many of the Southeast Southeast Asia country, we practice the Mahayana Buddhist teaching. So for us, the emptiness is a but emptiness is also misunderstood even among Mahayana Buddhists, and so therefore it is important to explain emptiness in great detail. But the catch here is that the more you try to explain emptiness, the more evasive it gets. So emptiness, there is a saying within the philosophical schools that in the Mahayana Buddhist schools, that emptiness is like a mute person, not a mute, emptiness is like a sweet. Emptiness is like a candy being eaten by someone who cannot talk. A mute, I think, yeah, mute. A person who cannot talk, a person who cannot speak. So if you ask a person who cannot speak, how does the candy taste like? How does the food taste like? He cannot explain it, no matter, even though that person can experience it, there's no way that person can explain it. So experiencing emptiness and explaining emptiness is totally two different things. And the only person who can explain emptiness in full, great detail is the Buddha alone. Anyway, so we will try our best. So today we will talk about emptiness. So first thing to understand is that emptiness is not empty or not. Emptiness is not nothingness. So emptiness doesn't mean there is nothing. In fact, emptiness means there is something. But emptiness also means that when we say emptiness, normally we think about something empty, something, nothing being there, there being nothing. Normally when we talk about emptiness, especially in the philosophical circles, we have a saying, emptiness and the basis of emptiness. So Tongba, which is emptiness, Tongba Ni, and Tongxi, which is the basis of emptiness. So any emptiness, nothingness has no basis, but emptiness has a basis. Without a basis, there cannot be any emptiness. So emptiness is a vacancy or a space. In order for a space to exist, there should be a sort of a vacuum, and that vacuum, within that vacuum, the space exists. So therefore, there's always a basis, and within that basis or upon that basis, emptiness exists. For example, you have the emptiness of the cup, emptiness of the television. So in order to have the emptiness of television, you need to have a television. If you don't have a television, you won't have a emptiness of the television. In order to have the emptiness of person, a human being or a person, you need to have a human being or a person first. So when you have a person, and then the reality, the exact nature of that person's existence is regarded as emptiness. So emptiness is nothing other than we also use the term called suchness. So this is the ultimate reality, or the such, the purest form of suchness. So it is the ultimate reality, it is the ultimate suchness of the person's reality, or reality of any basis. So emptiness and nothingness are different in the sense that nothingness has no basis, but emptiness is always based on a basis. So there is always a basis for emptiness. So you cannot say emptiness by itself. Even though we do use the term emptiness by itself, we are always referring to emptiness in reference to a basis for that emptiness. Normally in Buddha's teaching, when he talks about emptiness in general, we are referring to the emptiness of all phenomena, all existential phenomena. So there is a basis, and the ultimate reality, the ultimate suchness, the exact way of existence of that phenomena is known as emptiness. So as I said, emptiness does not equal to nothingness. Nothingness does not equal to emptiness. Emptiness equals to something, but something that is empty of your imagined elaboration. So what is our imagined elaboration? When we see something, when we think of something, when we perceive something, we always think of that as that phenomena as of existing on its own, without any causes and conditions, without any label, but by itself, the thing is realistically there. When we look at for example, when we see a car driving towards us, we, of course, on a conventional level, we know there's a driver in the car. The car has four wheels, and it's being driven by it's driven by a person with fuel and everything. But on the ultimate level, when the car is coming through us, we see as if the car is coming by itself, and at the ultimate level, we see the driver as also being part of the car, and the car rushing towards us on its own. And because of such perception, because of seeing things rising from its own, rather than through support of all different causes and conditions and labeling such and such, we assume that the car is coming by its own on the ultimate level. And so a car coming on its own is not a big deal. But if when we look at things like a person, and let's say an enemy, a friend and an enemy. So when a friend does something good to us, we don't look at all the causes and conditions of how and why, and the hows and whys of why the friend is benefiting us, helping us, assisting us, befriending us. But we see the friend in total goodness, total positiveness, on its own, by their own. So therefore, our friend becomes ultimately good, and our enemies, or the person we do not like, becomes ultimately and totally negative. And therefore, we hold grudges against people whom we dislike, and then we are attached to people and things that we seem to like. So, misunderstanding emptiness is the basis of all the negative emotions, starting with the three poisons. So therefore, reversing that perception is very important. So I think we will talk about this more. If there's more questions, we can talk about this. As I said, it's very difficult to describe what emptiness is like, but each person can have their sort of like empirical experiences of what emptiness is and feels like, and can discuss on that understanding or experience of emptiness, and then try to see if that matches with the Buddha's description of emptiness or not. So the most important thing, the most important thing to realize is that all the things that we take for granted actually are made up of many small and different factors. Let's go with the car once again. A car, even though when we say a car, we think of one whole body, one whole object. But actually, a car is just a label given to a small house that can run. It has wheels, it has a fuel tank, and so on and so forth. It is actually a small house, but it can take a person from one place to another place. And the same goes to a house. A house is also made up of, when we talk about a house, we think of one large building, one large object that can actually hold a person, or that can actually accommodate a person. family. But house is also nothing more than bricks and mortar and the windows, pillars and walls and so on and so forth. When they are all when all the aspects, when all the small factors that made up a house is taken away, there no longer is any house. So house is not there by itself in that sense. A house does not stand alone by its own. But when we normally will look at a house, when we think of a house, we think of the house as standing on its own. But actually, the house is standing not on its own, but it's a compilation of different materials put together and labeled and given a label called house. And so this goes with everything. It goes with our friends and enemies, and this, as I said before, the concept of family, wife, husband, daughter, children. So this is also when we normally say wife, we think of the spouse of a gentleman, and when we say husband, we think of the spouse of a lady. But the concept of the concept of wife and husband is also not realistically true from its own sense, because a person who is considered a wife by somebody is also considered a mother by someone else. So a person can be a wife, a person can be a daughter, a person can also be a mother at the same time. And all these, even though a mother, a wife, and a daughter all varies from ages and also are different sort of phenomena or different individuals. A wife, a husband, a wife, a daughter, and a mother are different individuals. But looking at it from different aspects, we can that a person can be all of that. So this comes from the fact that a person is made up the person is made up of all the materials that constitute them as a wife, a daughter, and a mother. And then they were given the label a mother, a wife, and a daughter. So in that manner, even though normally a daughter, a mother, a daughter, and wife are three different things, but it can also come together within one person because there is the emptiness. So here, when we talk about emptiness, I think it's much more clear in the sense that a wife is empty of being inherently wife. A daughter is empty of being inherently a daughter. A mother is a mother, but the mother is empty of being inherently a mother. So if a mother is inherently a mother, then the person can be only a mother and nothing else, no one else. Because there is the emptiness nature of the mother. The mother can also be a daughter. Since the daughter has the emptiness nature of a daughter, the daughter can also be a wife, and so on and so forth. Emptiness makes, so there's a saying in Ramana's root lines that with emptiness everything is possible. Without emptiness nothing will be possible. So I usually give the example of a parking space. When there is a parking space, when we talk about parking space, we're not talking about nothingness. And when we say an empty space, we are talking about a space that you can park your car in. So when we normally say, when we talk about emptiness is not exactly the same, but in a similar manner, it's like a parking space. When there is a parking space, there's space to move around and there's a space to park your car. It doesn't mean there's nothing. There is something. There is an empty space. So similarly, when we talk about emptiness, we're also talking about a possibility. Without emptiness, everything is rigid. There's no movement. There can be no movement at all. But because of emptiness, because all phenomena does possess a quality of emptiness, they have the parking space, so to speak. And so therefore, there's room to move around. Okay, so if you're losing interest, if you are losing interest, it's there's no need to worry about it. This is the effect of emptiness. Okay, so we will not go into much of the technicalities, and so let's jump to the next topic, which is, I think, much more engaging. So that is known as the 37 aspects of the Bodhisattva practices. 37 aspects of the Bodhisattva practices, or also sometimes known as the 37 aspects of Bodhisattva Dharma. No, sorry, not Bodhisattva, but Bodhi Dharma. I think the translation it says Bodhisattva Dharma. I think that's wrong, because it's actually Changchok So Dun in Tibetan, which means the 37 aspects of the Bodhi Dharma, or just the Bodhi. So Bodhi is a Sanskrit word meaning enlightenment or completion. It also means completion. It also means Bodhi. Normally we say Bodhisattva, right? So there's two words here, Bodhi and Sattva. The word Bodhi means completion of all your work, and which, according to a Buddhist, is the achieving enlightenment. So there is the self-completion and other completion related to self and completion related to others. And the completion related to self is the Buddhahood. And completion related to others is, of course, once you become Buddha, then you help other sentient beings. So Bodhi means enlightenment. Bodhi is reference to the enlightenment here. And 37 is a 37 different aspects of groups of practices that can all summed up in 37. That can summed up in number 37. So this practice, unlike the emptiness version, is common among all followers of the Buddha Dharma. So it's not exclusive only to the Mahayanist or the Mahayana practitioners. So this is practiced also by the Theravada schools and others. So and that is one of the first of which the first of the 37 Bodhisattva, the Bodhi practices, the 37 practices of the Bodhi Dharma. So don't confuse this with the Bodhidharma of the person, the great sage who brought Buddha Dharma to China long time ago. So his name is also Bodhidharma. So when we say Bodhidharma here, we are talking about the Dharma of Bodhi. So Dharma, as I mentioned earlier, can mean is a very ambiguous word. It can mean we can also say that everything is Dharma. Even good and bad things, everything is Dharma because it holds its essence. Anything that holds its essence is a Dharma. So anything that does exist is a Dharma. Anything that is positive is also a Dharma. So Dharma, normally when we say Dharma, we are referring to the Buddha's teaching. But when we say 37 aspects of the Bodhi Dharma, we are referring to 30. So even though we use the term Dharma, we are actually using it as in lieu of the word object. Instead of you saying 37 objects of the Buddhahood, we use the word 37 objects, 37 aspects of the Bodhidharma. Anyway, let's not go into too much of the technicalities. So the first of the 37 practice of the Bodhidharma, 37 practice of the Bodhidharma, is known as the Four Contemplations. and normally it's translated as Four Mindfulness, and that's why it's very popular all over the world. The mindfulness practice is very popular all over the world, and this is thanks mainly to Theravada Buddhist teachers who have been in the West way before the Mahayana Buddhist teachers came to the West, which was, I think, after 1959 and that kind of era. But before that, even during the British Raj, even during the colonial rules, the Theravadan monks from Sri Lanka and India were they went to Cambridge and to the West, and they exposed, the West is exposed to the idea of mindfulness and so on and so forth. So the mindfulness, the mindfulness practices, which is on the top of the list of the Bodhisattva, 37 practice of the Bodhi Dharma. So since this is we call this a common practice. Common meaning this is a common practice between Mahayana Buddhist and the Theravadan Buddhist. So therefore, this is that's how the mindfulness practices become very popular all over the world. So the first of the 37 practice of the Bodhidharma is known as the Four Mindfulnesses or Four Contemplations. Okay, so just a reminder, we are still covering the first point of the 10 qualities of the Bodhidharma. We have been covering this since last week. So because the very first point actually has like several aspects within it. So we haven't finished covering the very first point still. So we have been covering that for the last 2 weeks and continue to do it even today. Okay. So let me just go very briefly within the first point. We have covered the 6 perfections. We have covered the 10 virtuous deeds. We have covered the emptiness, and now we are covering what is known as the Bodhidharma, 37 branches of Bodhidharma, 37 aspects or 37 branches of Bodhidharma. Let's go over the 37 branches of Bodhidharma very briefly, okay? And then maybe if we have time, we will go deeper. So the first of the 37, the first batches of the 37, the first batch, BATCH, first batch of the 37 branches of Bodhidharma is known as the Four Close Contemplations or Close Mindfulness. There are 4 of them: Four Mindfulness or Four Close Mindfulness or Four Close Contemplations. There are 4 of them. Then there is something called Four Perfect Abandonments. 4 perfect abandonments. And then there is something called 4 legs of miracles. 4 legs of miracles. Then there is something called 5 faculties. Here they use a translation word called 5 powers. But anyway, so there's the 5 power. You can also say the word 5 power because the Tibetan word used was Wangpo. So Wangpo can also mean faculty. Wangpo can also mean power. It can mean both. It can also mean a force. But anyway, so there's the 5 powers, and then there's the 5 forces. Then there's the 7 secondary virtues of the Bodhisattva, Bodhi, not Bodhisattva. Even the translation is wrong here. So it is actually the 7 branches of the Bodhi. And then there is the 8 noble paths, which is very popular. So these constitute the 37 practices of the Bodhi, 37 branches of the Bodhidharma. Okay, so we will go from the bottom up: the 8 noble paths, the 7 branches of the Bodhi, or the 7 secondary virtues of the Bodhi, the 5 forces, the 5 powers, the 4 legs of miracles, the 4 perfect abandonments, and the 4 close contemplations. So these make up what is called the 37 aspects of the Bodhi Dharma. Okay, so we will go with the 4 close contemplations first. Or so it's also translated as 4 mindfulness or 4 close mindfulness. So there are 3 sort of words here. 4 close mindfulness. 4 is the number because there are 4 different practices, and the close means to keep it close to your heart. It's important to keep that as a so it's important to keep that practice close to your heart, meaning you will always practice it on a daily basis. So the reason it's called close, it's the meaning of the close is that just like your mobile phone, which you always keep nearby, close to you, means you always use it. So things that we normally use it, things that we keep in handy, are the things that we usually use it on a daily basis, on a routine basis. So that's known as these objects are known as something that we keep close. So similarly, the 4 mindfulness practice should always be kept close. That's why it's called close. And contemplation or mindfulness. So the translations vary from different translators. Both are not totally wrong. Anyway, so Temba, the Tibetan word Temba is to recollect. So you can also say the 4 recollections. If you say for mindfulness, it's more, I think, closer to the target, closer to the original source, I think. Anyway, so mindfulness is to, as the name suggests, to be mindful. Mindful means your mind is always aware. Mindfulness. Your mind is aware of what's going around. So that is setting up your awareness to the fullest. That is what mindfulness is about. So there are 4 of them: the mindfulness of the body, the mindfulness of the feelings, the mindfulness of the mind, and then mindfulness of everything around, or the mindfulness of Dharma, as it is translated. So the very first thing we can do is we cannot experience mind snap of a finger. Mind is, because we usually deal with everyday objects, tangible objects. Mind is intangible. Mind cannot be seen. Mind cannot be seen or touched or felt, or you cannot smell mind or anything like that. So mind is to be experienced, and so mind is very subtle. The point is, so first what we become mindful is we become mindful of our bodily reactions, how our body reacts, how our body acts, how our body works. So the first of the 4 mindfulness is mindfulness of the body. So keep whether you are sitting on a chair, on the ground, or wherever, or maybe lying down, just be mindful of your position. Okay, I'm sitting down, I'm sitting down, I'm sitting down, like that. So just be mindful of only of the position that you are in. Just be mindful of the physical positioning of your body. Don't think about what your mind is thinking. Don't think about what you are feeling. Don't think about what everything around you is going on. Just think of your body. So once you progress, once you complete that stage, then you move to the next step, which is the feeling, or the tsora. So when you are concentrated on the physical action of the body alone, the physical action of the body can be seen, can be heard. When you move your body, there is some noise, ruffling of the clothes and so on and so forth. And then you can smell if you sit long for quite a number of, quite some time, then you will start sweating and you will start to smell, so on and so forth. So all these are tangible objects. So then you move to more subtle forms of mindfulness, which is your feeling. So when you sit on a certain position for a long time, you become there's discomfort. Oh, my knees are aching, my back is aching, from sitting in that position for too long. And then gradually you are very, W-A-R-Y, very, you are aware of your feelings. First, your bodily feelings, like, oh, I'm in pain, my head is aching, my back is aching, my tooth is aching, so on and so forth. And gradually you can shift from physical feelings or physical feelings to mental emotions. And so you become mindful of that as well. And once you advance in that, once you complete that, you go to what is known as Semtambanyasha, which is the mindfulness of the mind. So emotion and mind is a little bit, even though emotions and feelings are an aspect of the mind, mental factors, but the mind that we are referring to here and the mental factors called feelings or emotions are different in a way that mind is more subtle. Emotions can be, even though emotions are intangible as well, emotions can be felt very sharply. If somebody says bad word to you, you can feel the emotion very sharply. If somebody says something bad about you, even though it's emotional, even though it's intangible, even though it's part of the mind, it's mental, it still hurts so deeply. So even though it is a mental aspect, it is it's much more sharper. It's less subtle than the mind itself. So we go from the most, the grossest, or the coarse, C-O-A-R-S-E, the coarsest, the more grosser form, the more coarser form, to the more subtle form, from body to feelings to the mind. And so the mind, when we talk about mind, we're talking about the mind is like the headquarter, which is looking after everything, is like the tower, which is looking after everything that's happening around, what my body is doing, what my mouth is doing, what my brain is doing, what my mind, what my emotions are going through, and so on and so forth. So it's watching over everything. And then once you complete that, once you advance that stage of having control over your mind, then you can shift your focus to the whole world. The Dharma here refers to everything that revolves around you, everything outside of yourself. So once you are able to master your own body, feelings, and mind, then you can shift to master, or to help, to aid, to support, to work for the benefit of others, other sentient beings, other phenomena, other individuals, and other things. So there's the Buddha said, you are your, so the one who can master themselves can then they are ready to master others. So even though master may be not the right word, so when we say master, we are actually referring to the fact that no matter what comes, we will be able to deal with it. So once you are able to deal with your own emotions, your own reactions, your own mental factors, then you will be able to once you complete that stage, then you are ready to deal with other people's emotions and other people's difficulties and complications, and so on and so forth. So these are the 4 mindfulnesses. It is the first of the 37 aspects of the Bodhidharma. The first 4 aspects of the Bodhidharma. Okay, so we're stopping short here. Of the 37 practices of the 37 aspects of the Bodhidharma practices, we have covered only 4, so there's 33 left, and we will cover that next week. So we'll open up for Q&A. So please.
We have 2 questions. The first one, dear Rinpoche, how is loneliness differ from emptiness?
Yeah, so emptiness is a reality. Emptiness is emptiness is a reality in the sense that it's there in the outside world, and loneliness is a mental state. Loneliness, when we are going through a low aspect of our life, we say we are lonely. When we are very happy, we say, I'm finally free, I'm independent, I'm on my own. We feel good. And when we are in our normal stage, when we have no ups and downs, we are in the middle stage. We say, I'm alone. I'm alone. I'm lonely. I'm free by myself. So these 3 things are mental aspect, mental state. When you are very happy, you think you are free from all the chains, all the things that is, all the trappings that is chaining you down, that is blocking you, that is chaining you, that is tethering you. You feel free, and you say, I'm free. And then when you are indifferent, you say, I'm alone. I'm by myself. I'm in my home by myself. I'm alone. But then when your life is going through, a tumultuous aspect, a tumultuous moment, then we keep saying, I'm all alone. I'm lonely. So I'm alone and I'm all alone is a different thing, right? So I'm so lonely. So when we feel low, when our mood is low, or when things are not going the way that we desire them to go, then we feel low, and we feel like everyone is deserting us, no one is supporting us, and then we keep saying, I'm so lonely. Even though you are in the midst of, it happens a lot, especially, in big cities, people always go, people commute in buses and metros, the subs, hundreds and hundreds of people together, but still you feel lonely. You feel lonely because you feel people are not accepting you. You feel as if people are neglecting you, and that's when you feel lonely. And emptiness has nothing to do with that, or everything to do with that. Emptiness is nothing to do with that. Emptiness has got nothing to do with that, in the sense that it is not because things are empty. It's not because everything is empty out there. There is nothing out there. You are feeling lonely. That is not the case. So in that sense, emptiness has nothing to do with that, because it's not like there's nothing out there. There's everything out there, but due to your mental state, because you are going through a low stage of your life, you're going through something difficult, you feel lonely. And you can also say emptiness has got everything to do with that. Remember, emptiness means possibility. So because everything is emptiness, all phenomena are emptiness, it means even your loneliness has got something to do with emptiness, because whatever made you feel bad, whatever made you go through this low stage of life, whatever has made you suffer, is also possible only because of emptiness. If there is no emptiness, you will always be happy or you will always be unhappy. There will be no shift because everything is inherently, realistically true. But because of emptiness, nothing is inherently, truly existent. And everything is dependent upon causes and conditions to rise. Because of this, that comes. This is the main sort of like explanation of the dependent arising. Dependent arising is the direct contradiction, the opposite of emptiness. Direct opposite of inherently existent phenomena. Because of this, that happens. Because of that, this happens. Because of this, that happens. Because of this, that happens. This is very important. This is also related to law of causality. So, law of causality, the karma, we normally talk about karma. Karma is only possible because of emptiness. Because of emptiness, you do a good thing comes, bad thing, but you do a bad thing comes. Because of emptiness, you can do both good and bad things. And because of doing bad things, negative thing comes. Because of doing good thing comes to you as well. If there is no emptiness, you can only, a killer can only be killing someone because that is the inherent nature of the killer. So the killer will always be killing someone. A slave will always be slave. There will be no change. But because of emptiness, there is change. There is movement. There is room to move around. There is a space to park your car. There is a space to be lonely. There is a room to be free. There is the room to be alone. Because of emptiness, you can be alone, you can be free, and you can be lonely. If there is no emptiness, you will be always lonely, you will be always alone, or you will be always free. There will be no change. So, in that sense, you can say it's everything. Emptiness has everything to do with your loneliness. You get the meaning, right? Individual on an individual basis, emptiness has got nothing to do with your loneliness. But on a more universal level, because of emptiness, everything is possible. Everything is revolving around, and so therefore, your loneliness is also part of the sphere of emptiness. So, all in all, emptiness is a reality. Loneliness is a mental state. So, loneliness is in here. Emptiness is in here as well as out there. Next question, please.
Rinpoche, how do we apply emptiness in the daily life? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Let's do this. Okay. Emptiness, understanding emptiness is like understanding, knowing who is a thief, who is a cheat. If you know, when you are among a group of people and there is, let's say there is a thief amongst us, there is a cheat among us. So if you know who the cheat is, if you know who the thief is, then you will be more careful. You will not expose your valuables. You will not expose your secrets. You will be able to keep your secrets. Whatever is valuable to you, you will be keep it. You will safeguard it. So similarly, understanding emptiness is like that in a similar way. You gain understanding, even though you may not be able to realize emptiness. There's a different thing. Realization of emptiness and understanding emptiness. Understanding or comprehending emptiness is what we are trying to do. And once we understand the concept of emptiness, understanding the concept of emptiness and realizing emptiness itself. There are different things. The later is more advanced. To realize emptiness, you have to do lots of meditation, deep meditation, after understanding emptiness, the concept of emptiness. Okay, so once you understand the concept of emptiness, you can, even though you have not realized emptiness, you can still apply that in your day-to-day life. Just like realizing, if you know the what is the word? If you know that you are walking on glass floor, if you know you are walking on glass floor, you will be very careful because it can break any time. It's fragile. So in the similar way, once you understand the concept of emptiness, you will realize that everything that revolves around you is a mirage, is an illusion, so to speak. It's a projection. Maybe illusion is not the right word, but it's a projection of your own mental experience, of your own experiences. Of it. That's why we judge people. That's why we perceive people and events. We all have different opinions about different public figure, different situations in the world, about whether it's about the COVID-19, whether it's about environment, whether it's about politics. We all have different views. The reality is only one out there. There's only one reality, but our perceptions are different, which means everything is empty of having an inherent reality. Even though there is a reality, that reality does not consist any inherent nature of its own. Because of that, we can perceive, we can interpret, and we can experience one reality through different one reality can be experienced differently through different prisms, because our perception, the prism, the projector is different. So the way it was projected through. So the reality, the world that we experience, is a projection. The world we experience out there is a projection of the world that we conjure, so to speak, internally. So once you understand that, once you understand everything that revolves around you is your own projection, then you see, even maybe the illusion is not the right word, but projections are somewhat illusion in the sense that it is not a real thing, right? So when we are watching a movie, everything is so seemingly real. We cry with the actors, we laugh with the actors, we become mad at the villain, and so on and so forth. Everything, but at the same time, that is the conventional reality. But at the same time, we also know that this is a movie and nothing is true. So once you understand the concept of emptiness, you will enjoy, you will suffer, you will go through all the lives, all the daily routines of life, like watching a movie. You will cry, you will be mad, you will laugh and everything. But at the same time, at the back of your mind, you know all of this is fake. You know everything, all of that is an illusion. So you go to a movie, you enjoy, when we go to a movie, we enjoy all aspects of the movie. The funny part, the sad part, the angry part, the fighting part, whatever movie that we go to, we usually enjoy. I mean, I'm speaking generally, right? Of course, we don't enjoy all the movies that we watch, but generally speaking, we sort of like enjoy the movie. So whatever aspect of the movie is there, if somebody's eating something, we enjoy, we take part in that picturesque aspect of the movie. When some sad story is going on, we indulge ourselves in their secrets, the secrets of the characters, the movie actors, and so on and so forth. But at the back of our mind, we know all of this is false. None of this is, realistically true. So once you understand emptiness, the concept of emptiness, then you can apply that in your day-to-day life. In your day-to-day life, just like the movie, there will be ups, there will be downs. Highs and lows are part of life. When you have gained a steady understanding of the concept of emptiness, and when you apply that in your day-to-day life, ups and downs of your day-to-day life, whether it seems permanent or temporary, you will be able to tell yourself that all this is just a projection. The movie, there's a sad part, there is a happy part, there is an unhappy part. At the end of the day, movie, and it's there's a completion stage through that. Oh yeah. Any more questions?
Yes, we have one more question, Rinpoche. We have
Please
one
go
more
on.
question. Prostrate to Rinpoche. Will you please teach us how to practice on emptiness, avoiding with its concept? Thank you, Rinpoche.
Okay. How do I get to the aeroplane without going through the airport?
Right.
Can I go? How can I get on the plane without going through the airport?
We go helicopter, Rinpoche.
I mean, even the helicopter has a sort of a helipad. It's so to speak. There is the airport. So we have to go through a medium, and by crossing through that medium, we get to the carrier, and then we go. Then we climb on the carrier, whether it's a helicopter or whether it's a plane or whatever, and then we fly. At the moment, the concept is our only way through which we can realize emptiness. So first we have to go through the concept of emptiness, the theory of emptiness or the philosophy of emptiness. We have to study that. We have to meditate on that. And as we progress with our meditation, with our practices, then we can gradually, it will become more and more clear to us on how to perceive emptiness directly without any of the concept. So you cannot perceive emptiness directly on its own without understanding of the concept of emptiness. So the understanding of the concept of emptiness has to precede the direct perception of emptiness. Because emptiness is not a tangible thing. It's not like a cup or a car or things like. If it's a car or a cup or it's a tangible thing, we can just point at it and say, "Hey, this is emptiness. This is the car. This is the mug. This is a house. This is a tree." We can tell it very easily. Emptiness, on one hand, emptiness is intangible, and on the other hand, emptiness is not a positive thing. It's a negation. Emptiness. It's the empty of something not being there. It's a negation. It's not a position. It's a negation. So to perceive a negation, it has to be first understood conceptually. The one, it's a negation, not a position. Two, it is an intangible idea, so to speak. So for that, it has to be explained and understood conceptually at first, And then you will be able to perceive it directly, free from conceptual thoughts or conceptions. One more thing. Yeah. Emptiness, as I said, emptiness is a negation. Emptiness is a negation of inherent existence. So when we say emptiness, we're not talking about like empty of everything, nothingness. We are talking about empty of inherent existence. So inherent existence is a philosophy. Inherent existence is an understanding. It's an idea. So in order to negate inherent existence, we have to first conceptually understand what inherent existence means. If you do not know what inherent existence means, then you cannot know what is the negation of inherent existence is, what is the emptiness of inherent existence is. So, for example, if somebody asks you to check whether John is here or not, to say John is not here, first you have to know who John is. If you do not know John, you cannot, you cannot say John is not here. There is a guy there. He may be John. He may be Michael. He may be, I don't know. So, in order to tell somebody the room is empty of John, if somebody tells you to ask you to go and check in the room whether John is in the room or not, to say John is not in the room, first you have to understand who John is. So the concept of who John is very important. And once you know who John is, then you go into the room and check everywhere and he's not there. Maybe there's another guy there, but he's not John. He's maybe Michael or Thomas, but John is not there. So emptiness is the negation, non-existence of inherent existence. Emptiness, the inherent existence, John is the inherent existence here. So in order to understand there is no John in the room, in order to understand there is the emptiness of inherent existence, first you have to understand the concept of inherent existence. So the difference here is John is a tangible thing. It's a person. We can touch him. You can just point at it. You can just show a picture of John and say, this is John. Then you look in the room and, whether the guy is John or not. It's very easy to understand. But a concept such as inherent existence is not like that. It's a concept, of course. Inherent existence itself is a concept. So to negate a conception, since inherent existence is a concept, the emptiness of that concept is also a concept. The negation, in order to negate a concept, you need a concept. So for that reason, we need to rely on the concept of emptiness before jumping on to the direct perception of emptiness. Okay, I think that's it, right?
That's it for tonight, Rinpoche. No more questions.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your time. Okay, let's do the dedication. Yewa di nyordo da.
Nama Pate Dojo Jowa Shika Manupa Eki Sala Opas
Janju Semjo Rimbo de Aye Hanama Yu Deva Nyamba Mebaramaya Bone Gondo
Bel Paso
God.